Erin and Kevin were so committed and devoted, not just committed professionally, but devoted emotionally as actors. On one hand, it was not that I didn't know where he should go. It was that I was like, here's your canvas. You're so talented. Tell me what makes sense to you. 1,000,000,000%, I want to be the one that does their musical episode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart Emotion podcast. I'm so excited to welcome to the podcast Kristin Lehman. How are you doing, Kristin?
Hi, I'm great. So nice to be here.
So excited to talk to you. I know it's been a little bit since the end of season 13 of When Calls the Heart wrapped up, but I'm glad we were able to coordinate. For those of you that are listening or watching that don't know, Kristin directed actually 4 episodes of season 13 this season, episodes 7 and 8, because they shoot in blocks, and then got to direct episode 11 and 12, including, so that's the finale, and there was a lot that went on there. So thanks so much for being here. We always love to get that behind the scenes perspective, and I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. All the admiration that is directed towards this show for so long, the ardent fanship, and also the long time loyalty and love for this show is so well deserved. It's just a pleasure to be a part of this show. The people that make it, the crew, the cast, they're just splendid human beings.
And you hear anytime I talk to anybody there, it's just like they say, you get on it when calls the heart, don't ever leave, because just the environment is, and just everybody's all in and everybody's
Yep.
committed, and it's
Yep.
just a fantastic environment to work in.
Yeah, committed creatively, and also intelligent, kind, professional, mature, fun. It's just everything. It's just the best.
So we're going to cover some of the favorite moments of those 4 episodes, but I am going to start with the proposals, if you're okay with that.
Totally.
You get the script for the first time, and I'm wondering, and we're talking about the water tower here, the fact that they're going up on the water tower. What did your director brain immediately start imagining, especially like in terms of what needed to come together to actually pull this thing off?
Well, the very, very first things I thought of was that we needed to have access to the correct tools to make it possible. The water tower is tall, and so did we have access to the tools that we needed to make it beautiful and efficient and expedient, and also weather. We were shooting this in October, which is not always sunny in the Pacific Northwest where we film When Calls the Heart. And so that was really another serious concern was weather, because also we had lost a lot of leaves on the trees. So it was when we're up there, even with the proper tools, where can we look that will be satisfying and beautiful? And and then the next thing was I just immediately communicated with the director of photography extraordinaire, Andrew Copen, to find out. I'm sorry, I think I might have said it wrong. I think it's Copen. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That To find out what direction we'd be looking, what was best and advantageous for the day, scheduling it for weather, lots of practical stuff. And then I confirmed with Erin and Kevin that this is what they wanted, because it was going to require an awful lot of stunt rigging, a lot of safety, a lot of possible difficulties in communication, and and then it all started falling into place when everybody was on the same page. Producers, showrunners, actors, writers, everybody knew what we needed, and then we the morning of, I sent Erin and Andrew, our DP, the theme song from Laverne and Shirley. It's like, we are doing this.
So how does a day like that start? What's one early decision on a day like that that helps set the tone for the rest of the day?
Well, the decisions leading up to it are actually the thing. So the exquisite and very deliberate efforts of the assistant directing team and the line producer to make sure that our days could be shuffled around if the weather didn't work, because all of this would have been for naught if it was raining or if it was just super gloomy. And if you watch back and you see the episode, you'll see their walk and talk up to the water tower is a different day, so it's a different kind of gloom. because that was a rainy day. So I would say it's actually decisions, micro decisions all the way along in the block as we near the big day. But then when the day comes, um, most people on the crew and cast were excited.
Yeah.
It was a big climactic anticipatory event that everyone was excited to capture, and we did have the right tools, and those tools are fun to use. And so while we were racing light and wanting to get as much as we could and dealing with extra things that we wouldn't normally be dealing with, like wires and harnesses on our actors, and me communicating only through a walkie-talkie, that kind of thing, it was the decision of excited commitment, I think, is what just made that, or that early decision just made the day. We got everything.
Yeah.
We didn't get a couple of beauty shots that we wanted to try to get, but that's because we had the tools and toys that we wanted to play with a little more. But it made the day, and also the actors were so committed. Erin and Kevin were so committed and devoted, not just committed professionally, but devoted emotionally as actors to the moment. So it went very smoothly.
So, what kind of conversations did you have with Erin and Kevin about how they saw that moment emotionally?
Well, I didn't. I had them sort of tell me what mattered to them,
Yeah.
and um, how they saw the scene. And so we were kind of talking about that as the block moved on. And my conversations were more practical. Like, I think at one point in time, the two of them had imagined sitting down. And I said, we can't do that because then you've got just a backdrop of brown or gray weathered wood behind you. You have to stand up so that we can get enough vista to make it seem, um, like that Titanic moment where she's flying. And so it's only later, and Kevin can say whether it's true or not, but maybe they were wanting to sit down because Kevin didn't love being up that high, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. He didn't say anything about that. So that was the only conversation we really had, was me talking to them about what they wanted for the moment, crafting
Yeah.
it to be what they wanted. I put that in their hands, um, trusted that they knew the roadmap, and then just said, no, you can't sit down. That's the only thing. And the ring should come out of the box. That was the other thing that I thought was important. And they agreed too, because the ring box wasn't the most attractive thing. So
Needed
uh,
to see the ring for sure.
yeah, I was like, take the ring out as well. That was
Yeah.
it. Otherwise it was all, how are you feeling? Do you feel safe? Do you feel exhilarated? How brave do you feel? Step out a little further if you can. Those kinds
Yeah.
of things. All very practical.
But that's so important, I think, because it's like you give them that space. They know their characters. They know what fans want to see. We've built up to this.
Totally.
I mean, you've been on it for 2 seasons now, so
Yeah.
you haven't that
Yeah.
understanding. But for you to say, okay, that's your vision. Here's how we're going to execute it. But for them to also know that you as the director, that's not going to work, but we can do this. I
Yes.
just think that collaboration is so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're just dynamite. I feel like what happens on this show, because everybody is so skilled, is you have a plan, you've got a map in the script, and then on the day you make music together and you all adjust and adapt, and this is working, so you move forward, and then certain departments move into support, and then it's a very symbiotic relationship on that show.
That's such a good way to put it. I remember talking, I don't remember if it was Mike or if it was Sarah that told me that, even in their planning and getting up there and going, oh, we have to do some painting and cleaning up of rooftops because, and then that way on the day, it's go time. Those things have already been taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. Or at least like you'll notice in the episode, um, there's a shot that is CGI. Uh, it's the vista that Nathan and Elizabeth are looking at, but I couldn't actually shoot that practically
Yeah.
because there's no. It's that we're not looking at what they're looking at. So things like that you don't get if you're filming that kind of vista in October. But that's just the director and me, wanting to be able to tell the story in a fulsome way and knowing, oh, wait a minute, I'm not, here they are, we're saying they're looking at this beautiful thing and I can't show what they're looking at because
Yeah.
it's not a beautiful thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So Little Jack also is up on the water tower, which I thought was just such a great way to bring that storyline and the proposal, all together.
Yeah.
You've got him up there. You've got Nathan, Elizabeth, Allie, Oliver down below. I think I counted like 16 cuts where it's going back and forth. How do you kind of like map that out when you've got him up here, you've got, them down below? The sequencing of those shots, how do you make all of that happen to where, I mean, there was a story being told there where it was like not only was little Jack getting his moment, but Nathan saved the day for Elizabeth, who was wanting to find a way to make little Jack have his moment.
Yeah, that sort of coming of age agency that
Yeah,
she wanted him to have.
yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of, I mean, a lot of it is Andrew Coppin and I we prepared that. I mean, it's always wonderful if you can prep your episodes with your DP. In this case, the show is such a tremendous success, and Andrew juggles a lot. So he's their only DP, but I did get him for one day, and we mapped out our shot list ahead of time together. And the thing is that whenever I'm on set, one of the many things I think of is getting Leanne, our editor, in this case, Leanne has edited my blocks, um, every story element that I can so that we can tell the story. It's not just my preferred assets or elements to get, but the elements that I'm going to get because I know she might want them, or Hallmark might want them, or production might want them. So really, it's a question of what do we need to tell the story, and then what do we need to tell the story, but then what do I want to tell the story, and then finding a happy medium to see if I'm able to get all of it,
Yeah.
and then putting it into Leanne's very capable hands. Um, it also depends on the tools you have. Because, for example, when we shot the proposal, I was working with a techno crane, which is a telescoping camera head that
Oh,
it
yeah. Yeah.
can telescope up to 50 feet. And
But the
so
first time
therefore,
the shows use that?
it is the first time. So it was fun and very exciting. And yeah, it was great. Um, but with Jack going up, we didn't have that. So the cameras were stationary. And so any movement in terms of pacing or getting closer or pulling back had to be done editorially. And this is such a skilled camera team. We just chose lenses that could give us all of those things, and camera positions that could give us all of those things. And perhaps, if I'd had a crane, I would have shot it a little differently, but I think it worked out really beautifully. Using long lenses on it was lovely, and choosing moments to see just feet and just hands and just his head and that kind of thing. Choosing to show how small the boys look when they're calling up to him and he says, "I can fly." Those kinds of things. Sometimes adapting in the moment can give you stuff you didn't know was going to work well. So that's some of the challenge I enjoy with television, is the constraints that you might see coming, and then the constraints you actually face on the day force a different kind of creativity sometimes. And that scene, I think, was one of them.
Absolutely. So are Toby, are they there when you're shooting that scene? Because I mean, that's something you could have shot just anytime and just inserted it, but were they there in that moment when you're shooting that whole scene?
When they were calling up to him, yeah, they
Yeah,
were, but
yeah,
it wasn't necessarily necessary because I didn't ever shoot. Oh, I didn't include
right.
Highland in, and I
Yeah.
didn't go over them and up to him, but they were just there because I think later in the scene they were there as they come into the shot, but they were there calling to him. Yeah.
Got it. You mentioned that, you are there to make sure that you get enough for Leanne to have to work with to kind of bring that final thing together. I've often heard people talk about the director's cut. So, can you explain a little bit about like what is the director's cut versus like what we end up seeing?
So, it, just in simple terms, what happens is the order of things is obviously, in a way, um, I'm kind of determining the director's cut with my shot list for the day.
Okay.
I'm getting as much as I want or as little as I want. I tend to go for as much as we can, um, to give as much choice in the editing room. And because there's so many great gleeful moments on this show. So what happens is while we're shooting, the assistant editors are assembling footage, and then they give the footage to our editors, and then our editors do a pass with the script, using the script as the map, and then pulling from the elements that we've given them, the footage we've given them. They do a rough pass, which is the editor's cut, and
Mhm.
then I go into the editing room and I give notes on what I might want to see, or takes that I remember. Or Leanne and I are very much on the same page, I would say. So it's not very often that we differ, but it's not a finished assembly when it's the editor's version that they give me. They do it with the understanding we're going to polish it up and tighten it up, and then so the directors go in there to say, I prefer this shot, go to a wide here, go to a medium there. I think there's a better take of this. What if you drop that dialogue there? Does it make the joke funnier? Those kinds of things. So basically, the director works with the editor to give the version of the episode that the way they see the story being told.
Mhm.
And then from there, every director relinquishes their. It has to be out of sight, out of mind, and it goes to the executive producers who can do whatever they want. Oftentimes, directors don't cut their episodes directly to a runtime.
That's what I was going to ask. So they may be
Yeah,
more than yours, may be more than 42 minutes.
yeah. I try not to be too much over that, but I might be 2 minutes over
Okay.
because either there's stuff that I love that I don't want to cut out, and or I
Let them
just
make
want.
the hard decisions, right?
That's right. Someone else can decide for the dialogue.
Yeah.
So I give them time to play with, and then it gets into the hands of the executive producers, and then after that, it goes to Brad Cavoy's company and also Hallmark, and then they have their say, and they all want different things or they see things differently. But once a director has given their cut, that's their last chance to say, "Here's how I saw the story,"
Got it.
and then you have to just pretend. Well, also, hopefully, you've pleased the creatives, you've pleased the showrunners. You're giving them what they want, in even in a more enhanced or elevated way than they imagined, so they don't change it too much. But then there's some agendas or stuff you don't really know about that's coming down the pipe that might make
Yeah.
people change X, Y, and Z, and then you have to relinquish that.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I've always kind of wondered how that whole flow works. And so that makes so much sense. That last episode, that finale, we also have this beautiful scene. And many of us have been to Jamestown. We're so fortunate if we're there for Hardy's family reunion that they let us go on that tour. And I
Yeah,
know that, you've got a lot to work with Jamestown, but also you have to get very creative sometimes with,
yeah.
making it, shooting it at a different angle, but it's the same thing we've seen time and time again. So when you're scouting the flower field for Nathan picking the asters
Yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah.
family returning there at the end, like what specifically were you hoping to find to make that moment, really stand out?
Such a good question. The reason these are good questions is because um, you, having visited, you know that there's only so much field.
And it's a lot of flat too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
somehow he's walking down this beautiful hill.
and 13 episodes, that's a lot of field for a lot of time.
Yeah.
So what my first thought was, it's October, everything's dead or dying. What is the vibe that we're going to achieve? Um, what is the lens that will make it beautiful? What doesn't feel like it's been overused? Um, and in this case, there was like a small sliver of field that we could use, that just happened to work out. And then further to that, there was Nathan doing the picking, but then the family at the end, I completely imagined and completely used as my inspiration the opening credits of Little House on the Prairie. Because when they use that zoom? Yeah, yeah. So entirely it was, obviously I'm not doing shot for shot, but it was like using a long lens and then using a zoom, and then also having it be that sometimes they're in our shot and other times they're not, and it's like we're capturing a life moment, like we're peeking from the bushes kind of thing. Um, if I could have had Highland running ahead and kept him in, I would have done that in a more sort of, that would have been more homage to Little House on the Prairie, but that was kind of uh that's the footage I tried to use there.
That is so like it just clicked when you said that because this whole time it's like something was familiar to me
Yeah.
and I was like, what is it? And that is it. Wow.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I have now stepped into a place where I think I'm like one of the oldest on set. And so when I said to the camera team, I was like, hey, you remember the opening credits for Little House on the Prairie? They were like, I never saw that show. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyway.
Hopefully they didn't say that around Melissa Gilbert, right?
Well, no, she wouldn't expect it. I mean, they're
Yeah,
young.
I
So I was
know.
like, oh, you don't. Okay. And then I just said these long lens with the zoom.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, anyway.
Oh my goodness.
That
So
kind of
you,
pastoral, misty,
yes, yes,
that sort of thing.
totally. You're so good, Kristen, about, celebrating and elevating the work of everybody that's a part of this. But we also know that it takes that partnership with you as a director. You have really brought in over the last two seasons some really good, fresh perspective. I mean, I think that's what makes this show so great is that when you've 13 seasons in, you've always got to be looking for new ways to reinvent the show. So can you think of a moment this season where that balance really elevated a scene, where it was, your fresh perspective along with the talent and the amazingness, that's my fancy word for the day, of, all of that coming together?
Um, well, then it's just first of all, thank you for your kind compliments. I don't know if it's fresh I mean, I think because I'm new to new-ish to the show. But I don't know. I mean, I think that Peter DeLuise and certainly Peter and all Martin Wood, Mike Roll. I think they because I mentioned them because they've been on it for since the very
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
I feel like by virtue of coming in later, I'm literally fresh to the show. But
Yeah.
the other part of it is that I enjoy being there so much that that influences the way we all communicate when we're on set together. So um, I feel like for me, some of my favorite stuff to do on the show are the really big scenes, like the Harvest Festival, where
Yes.
everybody's in it, or in episode 7, the Jamboree, where everybody, like most of them are in the scene. Or in the silent film where we had everybody in it.
You got
Those are
several
some of
big
my,
moments like that.
yeah, yeah. Those are some of my favorite things to shoot. So, fresh perspective, I think it has to be my excitement to do the thing
Yeah.
because the cast is always excited to do the thing. But I think when they're met with someone who also loves what they do, it builds on itself.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, I enjoy them very much. And I don't shy away from those big moments that they also like to do. So I think that might be the perspective where they join, where I really enjoy having everybody together. And also I love being there. So I think that is the perspective that I bring. And then
Well, I imagine loving being there, loving doing what you're doing is automatically going to create this creativity where it just sparks these ideas that, kind of
yeah,
push
yeah.
the boundaries a little bit in a good way.
In a good way, in a good way. And also I trust all of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So in
Mhm.
a way, I mean, it's just like, well, you know what to do. Like, so for example, in the silent film episode 8, I roughed it out, told everybody, had photos, told everybody what would be happening. But to Ben, Hickam had no he had no lines and he wasn't actually placed anywhere. He was just
Okay.
there. He was operating the camera.
Got
And
it.
but that was eventually he was operating the camera. So we block it and he was standing beside me while I was watching the very rough blocking with the camera because that's some excellent camera work on Josh's part, our steady cam operator. And at one point I just turned to Ben and I said, well, you can see the moments. Just put yourself wherever you want to go. Do whatever you want to do. here's this, we're here, we're there, we're there, we're here. What makes sense to you? And then he was like, here's what I think. And if you watch it from that perspective, it's so brilliant. It's just so brilliant. So on one hand, it was not that I didn't know where he should go. It was that I was like, here's your canvas. You're so talented. Tell me what makes sense to you, and we'll amplify it. And that was a perfect example of that. And also, Pascal and Rothgar in the background of another scene with Fernando and Edie. I'm like, well, just like I need you back there, but what makes sense to me is you got a whole life going on back there. So then I was just like, here's what I imagine. You're rehearsing, and then they just went for it, and it was just, like those moments are fun, and yeah, it's just saying you do the thing, you do
You do
it.
your thing, right? Yeah, I trust you.
Yeah,
You do your, like, I see this could happen, but you do you. Like,
yeah,
let's
you
see
do
what
it.
it'll do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's brilliant because then it's also such a delight for me too. Like I was
Yeah.
just that
What are you
shot.
going to bring?
Yeah, Ben following Pascal and then running down for the and then handing her the script and then running in the back. I mean, it was just such joy. It was so good. It was just such a pleasure.
You've talked about, trusting the script and, the words that you're given are just so good. So, where did you find opportunities to interpret or build on what was on the page this season? Can you think of a moment?
Wow, your questions are great. Well, here's the thing. Here's the place where I feel like, oh, sorry, that's mine. Here's, I would say my first answer is the Harvest Festival.
Okay.
Anything that had to do with the Harvest Festival, because I was given really great guidance, obviously by Joy and David. That was the seed of the Harvest Festival. But then I was like, so how can I showcase what Sarah Maberly, the production designer, has created so beautifully, and how can I showcase all of these cast, and um, how can I showcase our excellent camera department? So I would say that for sure. I would say the Schoolhouse. I really loved the Schoolhouse, the emotionality, anything that had to do with Gwen. I mean, again, that's all on the page, but this is a good place. Your question brings up for me the fact that I'm never not reading a script as an actor as well. So I feel like I have the good fortune to understand a story from the inside out. And therefore, I'm not reading it from the outside in. And I feel like when you start there, and I can only speak from my own experience, but I feel like when you start there, I already have like an innate understanding of the emotional meat,
Got it.
not necessarily just structure. And so I already kind of have a leg up in terms of amplifying the transmission of the story.
Yeah.
I think I naturally have that because I'm an actor. And so I think that's sort of one of the tools that's a bit of a superpower for me that helps already, especially
Mhm.
it seems with this show. I really understand how to use these actors to transmit and use their talent to really that and that's why the show is so successful and why people love it is because it is a transmission.
Yeah.
They're really really sending their emotions in ways that are genuine. Uh, anyway, that's a long-winded answer, and
No,
maybe
but that totally makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
you've talked so much about on the directing side of it, that execution and thinking through all of those things, but really leaning into the actors. But then when you pair that with, well, you are an actor, it brings it that other side to it. And I think, it creates this well-rounded, like you're hitting it from both sides, it almost feels like.
yeah, it does feel like that because also as an actor, I love the camera department. So as a director, I also love the camera department. So do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all just a lovely stew for me.
When you look back on the 4 episodes that you directed, you've talked about, I just love being there. I just love being in that moment. Is there a scene where you just like loved it so much that at the end of it, you're like it just really was a moment of celebration for you?
Totally, totally. The Rothgar and sorry, the Ned and Florence scene where he is, oh, she's unwrapping the, in the jam episode. Yeah, I mean, come on. I could
Well, let's
just
talk
eat
about
them
that
up.
because that is such a simple, sweet moment.
Yeah,
But even the way, it's dark, we've got these lights on, the way it's
yeah,
very intimate.
yeah.
Talk about
Best
just
set.
kind of like visioning that out because that's one of their, I mean, they're so talented and every moment with them is good, but that was one of their best moments ever.
I totally agree. I have chills just thinking about it. Okay, so here's how it began. First of all, great good fortune to be with such tremendous actors. Um, Loretta and Rothgar are just like creme de la creme.
Yeah.
And then we get on and we chatted a little bit about it and we get on the set and then that's my first of all, the Mercantile is my favorite place to shoot. Knock on wood that now this next season I don't shoot myself in the foot, but my favorite set. And Andrew lit it so beautifully because there's source lighting in the back corner are all the practical lamps that you'd imagine the Mercantile is selling. So you get this beautiful warm glow. It's night, which is always already a little bit close and intimate. And then they're just such delightful actors that and there's not a cynical bone in their bodies. So they respond to the great material, but they also respond to someone who's enjoying their talent and enjoying what they have to offer. And we had time to explore because, of course, they're so talented. We're ahead of the game. We're not late. We're running on time. Um, and so then it was really just about like finding our footing and then fine tuning the moments and taking the time to give them this space. And oh, it was just so beautiful. I just loved that scene so much. It was
Oh,
very satisfying as a viewer, as a director, but then also satisfying as a peer of theirs. I
mhm.
really loved that scene.
Yeah, wonderful
Yeah.
moment. And you guys pull off a moment like that where it's quiet, it's intimate, it's right there in that space. And then another scene in that block, we've got the walk and talk with Lucas and Edie. Lucas is not, he doesn't have the vest on
Oh
now. We've
yeah.
got this amazing camera movement that's going across Main Street. We've got the horse entering the street, and then all of a sudden, Fernando comes in to save the day and takes off. There's a lot happening. So, talk about the vision for coordinating all of that to bring it all together.
Yes. So, you know, really, really important that I'm clear on what we need because actually the departments that are going to ensure our success are the assistant directing department, the animal department, our stunt department, and the line producer. They are the absolute skeleton of making sure that that's going to go smoothly. We've scheduled it with enough time. We've got contingency plans. Everybody is safe because we're not going to get tons and tons of cracks at it in case. I mean, most of it was the horse. Animals, they don't always do what you want them to do. So, oh yeah, and then the other thing I was dealing with is that the exceptional actor Juan, who played Fernando, does not ride. So I'm like, how do I make it so that it doesn't look like he can't ride? And it was, yeah. So I would say meticulous planning and then 100% luck, total luck. Yeah, luck, 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 luck. And also actors who are willing to just like, I'm like, just go with it. If the horse doesn't do what we want to do, just go with it. So probably a couple times me yelling from far away, look to the left, look to the right, go on your tiptoes. Okay, now run out of frame. Like that sort of like, um, yeah. So being as prepared as you can be, believing in the teams that really it's their forte, and then crossing your fingers and hoping that you get what you need, and then seeing, did I get enough of what I need? Do I need to augment this in any
Yeah.
way? Like, for example, you'll notice there's a shot from behind our stunt rider as he rides
Yes.
away. Because of
Yes.
course I couldn't show anything except in a close up of Juan because
Yeah. Yeah.
you'd see doesn't know how to ride.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's I think yeah, just trying to be as prepared as you can.
Well, it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun to watch. And I'm
Oh,
sitting,
I
and
bet.
and I think the more and more I do these interviews, I kind of watch the episodes from a bit of a different perspective. And I'm watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, they had to do this, and then they had to do
Yes.
this, and then there was a
Yeah.
lot to pull off, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And we were already, this is so funny. I started to say we were already invested, but we were really divested. So,
Yeah. Good one.
sorry. We have another light moment in that block where we've got Lily and Highland there, and Loretta is with the two of them. And it's so much fun to watch these kids. And this was just such a fun moment when, just as dry as he can be, Highland holds up his elbow and he's like, I've got a label on my elbow. I'm like,
Yes.
what are
Yes.
you doing behind the camera in a moment like that? Because I don't think I could have kept a straight face and how many takes was that also? Because I just die laughing every time I watch that.
I am so glad you do. I'm so glad you do. Originally, I think he was supposed to say something else.
Yeah.
And um and I just remember thinking it has to be that we don't know who she's talking to at first, and she's so earnest and um and then how can we deflate it in the best way? And I just love, I mean, at one point I think I had the little actress who plays Lily
Yeah.
open
Chloe.
her mouth. I
Yeah.
think I'd said, okay, open your mouth a little, like that sort of with the little ones, and I mean this in the best way, you can sort of marionette them a
Mhm.
little in a way that only works.
Yeah.
And so that's an example of that. Like Loretta obviously the straight man does just such an
Yeah.
exceptional job in it.
Yeah.
And then to have that two shot of the kids, we just kept it rolling. And I'd give him line readings to like say, just giving him many different cracks at it. And then it's the way it's cut together is what sells the joke. Yeah,
Well, and I think that was it. It was like that withholding of like, who is she talking
that's right.
to?
That's
And then
right.
it's like, and then the reveal, oh my goodness. And then
Yes.
his just
Because
dry
then,
is,
yeah, what you're laughing at is their funny response, but also that she thought she could get solace from
mhm.
them. Like, yeah,
Yeah. So we've talked about, that those still moments, the one with Rothgar and Loretta. We've talked about all of that movement. So you often use movement in your blocking, but there's also, there's those moments where you just have to have those stillness moments. We've talked often about Nathan and Elizabeth, where their bread and butter is just sitting in those moments and having those conversations. Like, how do you recognize when a moment needs that quieter approach? I was thinking about that block, and you had that moment where Nathan and Elizabeth have to have this serious conversation about what if something happens to them and
mhm.
who's going to take care of those kids. And it's just, and he is up. I mean, Nathan is up, he's in pain, and he sits down, but there's just this stillness with them. So how do you decide when that's what needs to happen?
Um, that's a that's a good question, and I pause only because intuition that's my first response. Again, I think of what my instinct is as an actor, um, and I also remember clearly in that moment saying, "Do you want to be up or down?" to them, and knowing what my instinct was. But there's
Yeah.
times where I don't sort of enforce what my instinct is. I'll say, "Here's what I'm thinking, but what is it for you?" And I remember Erin saying, "Oh, I think we're down. I think we're down." And I was like, "Great." And so it was just a question of, um, I think my instinct is only ever to build in movement, either start or build it in, if people are sitting static for too long.
Yeah.
Um, but in that case, the emotion is so obvious in that scene, uh, that it was mostly me saying, "Well, it can work if you're up," and then thinking in my mind, I think the instinct is to sit, but wanting
Yeah.
them to have agency and decide. And Erin was like, "Oh
Absolutely.
no, I think we sit," and I was like, "Great, wonderful."
Yeah.
You know,
And they've done so many of those moments like that where it is, we're just going to sit here and just have that conversation. It's kind of one of their things.
yeah, and it's a
So,
big conversation. Like it's a big,
yeah,
yeah,
big conversation.
yeah,
They're also in the orchard scene after the
yeah.
silent movie. It's very soft. It almost feels magic hour-y. Was
Yeah,
that
it was.
something that was specifically planned for? And, how tight is that window when you're trying to capture that kind of a moment?
Well, the camera team, Andrew and Josh and Jeff and Phineas and Adam, they would have a better, and Nisha, our gaffer, would have a much more accurate answer. It feels like never enough time. That's the best example I
Yeah.
can give.
Rabbit.
Like never enough time. You
Yeah.
got maybe um like literally 20 minutes of that beautiful light, and but you could use an hour and a half leading up to it.
Yeah.
But really, it's so crazy. It's a difficult time to get. You'll notice when they bring their heads together at the end when he says, I think the Mountie gets the girl,
Yeah.
the way you can see that magic light between their faces, between their heads. And those kinds of moments, it's really crucial that the scheduling is determined by where the sun's going to be and at what time. And you have to be nimble to be able to try to get it all in that time, and or shift gears if Andrew and Nisha are like, nope, we got to go, it's best that we do this, or but I love that scene because also that orchard hadn't been used in that way, and
No.
you see the water tower in behind them, which I also thought was nice as a foreshadowing to,
Yes.
because we knew by then that what we were doing.
Yeah.
And um yeah, it's tight. It's really tight. You get a very little amount of time.
Yeah.
I want to say I think we'd scheduled an hour and a half, 2 hours there, but really you really get 20 minutes of that beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the
It,
time when I'm very rarely cranky to actors. And I probably wasn't cranky on that day, but I do remember going forward, saying, "Stop laughing! Stop it! Stop
you
having a
gotta
good
get
time!
it.
Stop it! Stop this!
Yeah.
Stop this! Stop this joy! We need to stop it! Just do the lines."
Okay, so cut to episodes 11 and 12. We've already talked a little bit about episode 12, but 11, we've got the courtroom scene. What made it, and it's another big scene with a lot of people in it. What made it
Yeah.
such a significant sequence to bring together from your perspective?
Well, it was the conclusion of the whole season of Benton Hills. The exoneration of the boys. Then there's also this really grand heroic moment on Christopher's part. Jack is a hero. It was just tying a conclusion of so many other stories that were alive previously in other blocks that I really had them a lot to say. Jack had so much to say, and our guest stars in that episode were so good. I
So
thought they were
good.
so good. Yeah, they were such a joy to watch and so professional, and just like I didn't have to direct them at all. I just got to enjoy them. But also, it was what the show does so well, which is the coming together of the town.
That's true.
And that I thought was really, any chance I get to showcase that, I think it's one of the secret ingredients of the show
Yeah.
is community. Um, so I thought it was, a chance for Jack to be a hero, a chance for Justice, a chance for Christopher to be a hero, a chance for Nathan to be a hero, so we had all those adoring, and a chance for Rosemary to be the star that gets really paid off in that other enormous scene afterwards where they're in the saloon. Um, it also said goodbye to some of that was what was going to sort of send off our Benson Hills characters who'd been in town for the whole season.
Yeah.
So it really felt like a really pivotal episode, but it was very legal dense, I will say. It was a lot of time in a small space.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I remember Pascal talking about that one was a lot.
it was a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot. Well, the other thing is so many people, so we had to shoot one whole side in one direction, one whole side in another direction. It was it was a Tetris game with very little sleep, and I'm proud that we pulled it off.
Was that shot after proposal and all that? Because I know 11 and 12, you're going to shoot them out of order. Was that more towards the end?
No, it
Okay.
wasn't. Proposal was more towards the end.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, it was a little earlier in the
Okay.
episode. I think I don't know. I've expunged it from my mind now.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also another monumental moment in episode 12 is Edie and Lucas's first kiss.
Yeah.
Chris McNally, Miranda McDougal, they worked through that first kiss, the scene talking to Miranda. She talked about just a little bit of you telling her, just eat the cake, right? Just
Yeah, I
eat the
know.
cake.
Unfortunately, the pie was gross, but I was like, just eat it. Eat the pie. Just eat the pie. Um, and then she had to be honest and say it is difficult to eat because it's so gluey.
Yeah.
It's gross. But anyway, yeah. Well, the thing about those two, they're so great. But the thing for me about their whole dynamic, the Edie and Lucas dynamic, is very much Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn, that sort of crackle. It's got that crackle. So it felt like that scene, which was long and seated, and because it was at the piano, was we were sort of jammed against a wall. That scene also needed us to move, and so we found a place where it made sense to physicalize the that crackle and the
Yeah.
frustration so that they could be together, go apart, come back together. Um, and that was A, the value and great benefit of working with great actors, but B, also how do we give some life to the scene? And C, how do we, what enhances that sort of Spencer Tracy Hepburn
Yeah.
vibe?
So there are so many emotional beats in the finale. We've got Angela coming back. We've got Gwen's goodbye. We've got the proposal. Was there a moment where you really felt it behind the monitor? I'm
Any
sure there was a lot, but
Yeah, any scene that Alex, the actress who plays Gwen, is in was just, yeah, just dynamite. So the
yeah.
scene where she's scrubbing her dress with Pascal was dynamite. The scene where she comes down the stairs for breakfast was dynamite. The scene where Pascal says it just needs to be fixed and don't worry. And then when she says goodbye, when the montage with the balloons, later when they go to find her and it's Kevin and Pascal and
Yes.
she gives them the gifts and then she's leaves with the Benson Hills people with Maisie. Anything she was in, I was like, this is fantastic. I will tell you that final moment where she hops up onto the horse wagon and puts her head on Maisie's shoulder. That wagon is being pulled by men. There's no, there's no
Nice.
that's a team of dudes pulling the wagon
Uh-huh.
out of frame. But I find her work to be so naturally compelling. And I know that Kevin and Pascal also were loving working with her. So that was just such a beautiful thing to see and be a part of and get to modulate their
Yeah.
talent. Um, I feel like that is the thing that stands out for me. And then making sure that the Benson Hills conclusion
Yeah.
was satisfying. That really,
Yeah.
because I knew the proposal was going to be satisfying. How could it not be? And obviously I wanted to pay lots of attention to it, but the truth is that there were all these other really important moments that needed to be. We need to say goodbye to um I forget Reese's character. What's his name? His mom. There's the
Oh, the one from Benson Hills?
Yeah, the boy who loves Rome
Oh
and all that stuff.
gosh, he
There's
that was with Opal.
Yeah, that's right. There's all these characters we're saying goodbye to.
Opal's friend is who we'll say.
Yeah, yeah. There's all these characters that we're saying goodbye to. So making sure there was a satisfying conclusion and a satisfying emotional conclusion for all
Yeah.
those characters really mattered.
Absolutely. Yeah, and anybody that I've talked to, including Joy, including anybody, is like, how do we get Alex back for
I
season
know, I know, I
14?
know. We were callously saying, "Can't Dad die? Can't maybe her dad dies?" Or like, maybe Dad he gets consumption and then he has to go. But
He
yeah,
finds a job in Hope Valley and they
yeah,
move to Hope Valley, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
also, I mean, yes, 1000%. But I also think Alex is probably going to be if not as we speak, snapped up by somebody very
Yeah.
quickly. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's going to be so fun to watch what's ahead for her. So
yeah,
much talent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And loves what she does. So what was the last scene that was shot in season 13 and what did that wrap up feel like in the moment?
Well, I don't. You know what? I don't remember, but I don't. I suspect it was. I don't remember. I'm not even. I'm so awful. But I'll tell you what. That was a marathon. That block was a very, very heavy, dense block.
Yeah.
And I likely felt totally exhausted, but very proud. I was proud, not just of myself, proud of everybody that we pulled it off,
Yeah.
that we got through with grace and did a good job. That for me is probably how I felt, just thoroughly exhausted. I think it was night. I think it was late, and I wish I could remember and say something that was definitive, but I don't remember.
That's
So,
okay.
oh wait, I don't remember. Was it? It might have been a saloon scene. It might have been the saloon scene. Um, but all I remember is walking to my car feeling accomplished but very tired.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, maybe it was when they were all celebrating after the trial. That was in
yeah.
the
I
saloon.
think it was that got broken up a couple times. So I
Yeah.
think it was some. I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure it was the saloon is what we did, but I don't really remember.
So people
Um,
may not know this about you. You've also directed on Heartland. There's a
yep.
lot of people that follow When Calls the Heart that also have watched Heartland. You've talked so much, even while we've been talking, about the talent of these actors and the skills that they bring, the things that they see. Who from this cast do you think might enjoy stepping into that role of directing someday?
Oh, this is again. You have such good questions. Um, 100% Pascal. Uh, Kevin for sure. Even though I don't think he'd be so good at it. But I don't think he wants
Yeah.
to. Kevin McGarry for sure. I think Erin would too. Absolutely. Um, those four definitely. Martin Cummings has directed, so and he's very good at it. But those five, oh, and also so has Jack. But in terms of the people who haven't directed before,
Yeah.
Pascal, Kevin, and Erin, I think they should
Yeah.
actually. I think they should. And directing on a show you know so well, it's not the same as parachuting in as an episodic director for hire on other shows.
Yeah.
So that's some of why I think they would thrive is
Yeah.
because it's an environment they know so well.
Mhm.
Um, that it would be a challenge in all the best ways, not
Yeah.
in the crazy ways they didn't sign up for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think about Heartland and they've done that so much where those actors are now directing those episodes. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
gosh, what would that be like if some of them could actually direct some of the episodes on When Calls the Heart
Well, I
even?
bet you any money you'd get shots that nobody thought of because Michelle Morgan, when she directs that show, she's an exceptional director and has got stamina for days. Um, because she preps while she's in the middle of another show, which is crazy. But I'll never forget um, watching one of her episodes, and so the set for their house, the Heartland house, if they're doing exteriors, the interior of that exterior location doesn't have a build inside. So all
Right.
it has is the kind of like small hallway
Got
where
it.
you can look out and see the riding ring and you see the barn and stuff. But because she spent so many years as an actress waiting on the other side of that door. As a director, I had never thought, oh, we should be inside the house because in my mind, I'm like, we can't use the inside of the house. But
Mm.
one of these beautiful shots of her coming through that kind of hallway in silhouetted and pushing open the screen door, it was a byproduct of that, the fact that that's what she does as an actress all the time. That's where she's waiting for her cue. And I just remember then starting to watch her work and seeing and feeling, um, it's just she knows that family so well that there's an element that is just so natural and so beautiful, and there's so much ease
Mm.
and kind of just like, it's not the right word, but almost purity. Like she understands this place in such a way. And so I think those actors, they understand each other and they understand the constraints of this show. They are good natured and they love their job. So I just think that's the combination from heaven. And also they've got incredible leadership skills. They're
Yeah.
great. They're great humans. And I it's so obvious to me that they'd all be good at it.
Yeah. Well, I
Whether they
think,
want to do it or not.
yeah, put them to work.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, having talked with, we hear so much, they're so good about, talking to the fans, bringing them behind the scenes. And just when you hear them talk about it, it's almost, and, I don't know when it goes into directing at all, but when you know their passion and you know the collaboration that's already happening, it's like, it makes you wonder, I'm like, could they direct? Would they want to do
Totally.
that?
But you know
Yeah.
what? Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think it's different for different people. Like, ultimately, the reason I think that they would be excellent is because it's, for me, it's the natural maturation of what they're already so good at. So
Yeah.
so it's the natural maturation and also an opportunity for them to own that maturation.
Got it.
So that to me is also some element of leadership. And that's sort of life beckoning them,
Mhm.
not just their
Mhm.
vocation beckoning them. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean by that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So we've heard that it was Erin's idea to get up there on that water tower.
Yeah.
I'm curious, all these ideas, that are going around for season 14. Is there something creatively that you'd love to explore on When Calls the Heart if you had the
One
chance?
a trillion percent. I want to be the one that does their musical episode.
Oh,
I want,
yeah.
yeah, I want them to do, well, I want them to do a movie, first of all. I
Okay.
really want to do I want them to do a movie and I want to be the one to do it. And I want them to do a full musical episode and I would love to do that. I think it
They've
all,
got to do it. They've
yeah,
got to do it.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think the budget, it would make it very hard, but one can dream.
We can always dream.
Yeah.
Do you want the wedding?
Oh yes, yeah, I want the one, but you know what? I don't, I can't be greedy. So I,
But
and I
it's
have to
okay to
prepare
want it.
myself that I might not be the one to do it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be wonderful. Whoever does it, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah. No pressure on that one, right?
No,
Yeah. Well, Kristen, it has been a delight. It has been so much fun to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking us behind the scenes. We're so excited for season 14. And gosh, I mean, I look at the calendar and I'm like, oh, are we going to be able to handle it for another 7 months? But we'll figure it out. But thank you so
yeah.
much for all of your
Oh,
contributions to the
thank
show.
you.
We're so blessed that you've been able to join the last 2 seasons. Thank you for taking the time right now and wishing you all the best.
Thank you. I feel exactly the same way. So thank you for asking me. It's a
All
pleasure.
right. Bye bye.
Bye.